Hey folks, let's see, this is your favorite podcaster coming at you with the ums and awkwardness. So anyway, just wanted to talk about the issues with the movement for a People's Party, or the, what is it? I guess it is the People's Party. I don't know what it is. If it's, they call it the Movement for a People's Party, but they also call it the People's Party. So basically, it's nuanced. So human beings tend to fail at nuance, at least nowadays, in these times and places. So that's what I'm here for. Tell you what the reality is beyond the emotion and beyond the bullshit. All right. So they fucking feds are like flying over my house or something. So, Movement for a People's Party, it was started in, I think, 2017 by Nick Brana, and he was part of the Bernie campaign. He was actually, apparently, he was in charge of winning over, or at least he was one of the people in charge of winning over, trying to win over super delegates for Bernie, because he already had um, volunteered and worked within the Democratic Party previously. Um, anyway, so they basically sounded like, they were disappointed with the way the Dems rigged the primary for Hillary and everything, so they wanted to start their own thing. So anyway, they started the Movement for a People's Party, um, and um, so, I used to hate on them, honestly, because I thought it was a stupid idea. And still not really sure, because I mean, literally, he's like, well, I've been a Green Party activist, or, I think he said he grew up, like, his parents were Green Party or something. I think that was him or somebody else that was involved early on. And, but the Green Party's branding is, I think that was him, might have been him that said this in like an early Zoom call, and like, well, I think, yeah, the first time they really got prominent was, I think, in 2020, when they like had like early 2020, basically, as the primary was rigged and, was going in favor of the fascists and of Biden and whatever. They had a Zoom call, I think, and I was like in on that, like I wasn't on it, but I don't know if I watched it live or might have watched it live. But anyway, like, so they were like saying we need a new party, and he's like, I think it was him that said this. One of the founders said this. He's like, I from the Green Party, like I grew up in the Green Party or something, and they just have bad branding, so we need a new party. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Branding, bruh. So I like didn't take it seriously at all, like I just tried to focus on the Green Party because we are in the middle of an election, and it seemed like, I thought it might even be a plot to sabotage the Greens. So, um, and then also, as time went on and it gained steam, I noticed how many SJWs and shitlibs were like attached to it. And, like, like, what is that guy? I don't know, because that was when I was on Twitter, and, the first time I was on Twitter, really, like, really using Twitter, late, early 2020 during the end of the primary, and and then on into the summer and whatnot. And so there was a lot of canceling going on, and a lot of it was a lot of people were getting canceled for being turfs or whatever. Like I got canceled by a lot of the Rose Twitter because I was part of Rose Twitter, I guess. Like I had that was like having a rose by your name means you're democratic socialist. So it tends to imply if you're if you're in the US, you support Bernie Sanders, and if you're in the UK, you support Jeremy Corbyn. Um, but a lot of I had like 7,000 followers, but I lost a lot. I think I lost like at least like 1,000 followers or something. I don't know, from being a turf and saying like that. I thought, uh, I defined gender in the traditional way, and but it's like a lot of the people that were some of the people that were canceling me and canceling others for this were connected to the Movement for a People's Party. So I started to get the impression, because I already kind of thought they were there to sabotage the Greens, and now it seemed like they were actively sabotaging the Greens and everybody. And so I was very much against them. And, Brana, since he was supposed to be the leader, and there was a lot of people who didn't like him and said he was a dictator and whatever. So I tended to go along with that and blame him. But come to find out, seemingly those people that I hated that were latched onto the Movement for a People's Party seemed to be the people who were anti Brana. And they were actually trying to get him out. Like I was thinking it was my plan in 2020, well, yeah, 2020, 2021, to use their, I mean, not just my plan, others too, to use their convention to basically try to get a bunch of populists to join the Movement for a People's Party and take it over from the shitlibs and SJWs. And but apparently that's not really what was like. Apparently a lot of the original people were populists, and it was really the shitlibs and SJWs that were doing what I was talking. They were doing it the reverse. They were taking it over, trying to take it over. um, and they basically failed. They tried to turn everything towards identity politics. There was people in there calling everybody racist, sexist, homophobic, ableist, transphobic, like that type of thing, just on the slightest pretext. Um, and then I think she was eventually kicked out, and she was like a hardcore anti-Castro, I guess. Um, and then she accused them of anti-Semitism. Anyway, so that was one person that sounded like almost everybody, even the people that were basically on her side, couldn't even admit they were on her side because she went so far. So, uh, so anyway, fast forward to now. The Movement for a People's Party has actually been really good in the sense that, or at least Brana has been really good in terms of the mandates and the vaccines and stuff. Like he's been very anti-mandate. I think he saw. I mean, I don't know how much of that is just his own thing or how much he just watches Jimmy Dore, because he knows Jimmy Dore is one of his biggest, supporters, and with, one of the biggest platforms. So either way, like he's been, great on that compared to the Green Party, which I had been supporting. And now, like, the Green Party Black Caucus did a whole statement against, because the US Green Party came out fully in favor of the mandates. And so the Green Party Black Caucus was like put out their own statement of like fuck you people, and like these mandates are fascist. And So, and like, and honestly, even the concept of a Green Party is thrown more into doubt now because of the fact that so many of the Green parties around the world have been, pro mandate. And, there has been not much of, I mean, I'm sure I think maybe there's been some Green politicians who have gone the other way, but in general, they've all either basically been obsequious or been Faucists. And so, so, then you wonder, like, is the Green Party real? Is it just some fake, deep state color revolution bullshit? Um, Maybe so. But anyway, so I don't know, the Black Caucus, I'd be curious to know if Angela Walker was part of that or not. I know I don't think it was unanimous because I know there was um, a Black Green Party member that was talking, on this issue about Brana, and she seemed to be very pro mandate. But, but like I had talked to um, Angela Walker during the campaign to try to make sure that she's not going to be pro mandate. And at first she was kind of like, waffling and like, well, yeah, but and we got to make sure that COVID is especially dangerous for people of color, so we have to make sure we protect them. And I was like, yeah, but the people, a lot of, or she was talking about black people, I think, and I was saying like, well, it's a lot of black people that I know are saying like they don't want to be the guinea pigs, like a freaking Tuskegee experiment. And she took that on board. Like she respected that, and she basically told me, yes, I will um, prioritize freedom and whatever. So, so yeah, hopefully she was part of that uh, Black Caucus statement, although who knows? Because she got in line with the saboteurs pretty quick on like the trans stuff, calling people TERFs and whatever, condemning like J.K. Rowling as like literally Hitler or something. So I do not even have the highest hopes for her, but or Howie, but I mean, I still think like anybody who wasn't like pushing for them against Biden and Trump, like either pushing for them or pushing for JoJo, the libertarian. I feel like if you weren't pushing for one of them, then the end of the world is your fault. I mean, it's the fault. There's a lot of blame to go around, but it's at least partly your fault because you either thought Trump or Biden was like the ticket, or you just didn't care, and both of them were part and parcel of this genocide. So so yeah, I didn't. I thought like I that's why I hated the Movement for a People's Party, because even some of them were openly trashing the Green Party. And they're saying, and there's even still some of that idea like that where even Brana is talking about like move past left and right and like just be populist. But that's a red flag to me because if you're coming from a leftist movement and then you're saying you're moving past left and right, then you never understood what leftism was in the first place, and you probably don't understand what populism is. Um, but anyway, he's under fire now, seemingly for opposing the mandates. Apparently, there was a bunch of people inside that had joined on to the People's Party, and they were trying to, for one thing, when they were trying to change or keep the rules or change the rules, I guess change the rules so that uh, members of the Democratic Party could hold every position in the People's Party and basically control it. Yeah, they could have the whole, like the whole party could be basically Democratic Party members. So he thought that was sketchy, and he was saying they were pushing more for identity politics, but it seemed that both sides, like both his attackers and he himself agreed that potentially the real biggest issue that brought it to a head was the issue of mandates and him wanting to officially endorse the trucker movement on behalf of the People's Party. Um, and these saboteurs, even though they were a minority in the party, keeping that from happening. Um, and then they even prevented him from allowing the membership to vote on it. So these are people that got into leadership roles and they still were not the majority, I think, but they were able to prevent. Maybe there's some, they need a super majority for some stuff. I don't know. But they were able to prevent him to from even like putting it to the members to let the members vote on whether they want the party to oppose mandates and to support the truckers. So yeah, I'm 1000% behind him on that. Like, you know, that's a separate issue from what's the best route forward electorally and just, you know, it's separate from anything else. And that seems to be the real issue going on. So there's a lot of people that I think probably already had issues against him or just don't like the cut of his jib because he's kind of I don't know, he's kind of a square bear. Like his demeanor is like um I don't know, hard to say, but like he rubs some people the wrong way, I guess. But I feel like it's not the time to jump to, you know, jump on the dog pile and like and help trash him because you know, like because a lot of people who even are saying like he might be right but he should step down anyway. I think that's like, first of all, that never should be the thing. Like, oh, you were accused of some, oh yeah, and then he was accused of sexual harassment by somebody who was his girlfriend and who initiated the relationship with him. And whatever she accused him of, there she didn't have any evidence for it. And yet this investigation into it was drawn on and on and on, even though most of the party leadership determined not only was there no evidence for it, but it seemed to be fabricated for political reasons. And, you know, she had initiated the relationship with him. She had gone up to him one day, grabbed his belt, and like tried to kiss him or something in front of like three other people. So there's like witnesses, like they know this idea that he's this creepy guy hitting on her. No, like he was just trying to mind his own business and she like yoinked and grabbed him and made him her plaything for a while and I don't know. So whatever. But there was no evidence. She acknowledged there was no evidence and there was we don't even know what the allegations were, something sexual harassment of some kind. Okay, I don't know. So that's like meaningless without evidence, and it sounds concocted, and it seems that she was actually good friends with the woman who accused Shahid Buttar of the same thing, which was also clearly politically motivated and racist, etc. And that both of those women had done this. They just go from leftist organization to leftist organization doing this to the leadership. So, you know, it's very naive how people don't think that like there's like CIA agents and stuff like sabotaging leftist movements. They're like, we're not that important. They wouldn't do that for us. They have unlimited black budgets. They'll do it. Anyway, um, like their number one priority is getting poor people not to unite against them. So they will do it. So anyway, like I fully back him on the mandates and against this you know, people telling him to resign about the uh these allegations or whatever. Um and you know, maybe somehow maybe he will be like maybe it will work out, you know. I mean, um he says they want to run a presidential candidate in like 2024, and they think that'll be the ticket because that will galvanize people, and then they can build the party on that. I mean, it's not impossible. Um, but like, okay, so I watched the video of on YouTube of Sabby Sabs interviewing Renee Johnston, I think her name is, who was part of the leadership of the People's Party, and she is one of the people that was part of this kind of what the party itself determined was a coup attempt, and their lawyers determined was a coup attempt against Brana and the other populists by like Democrats and shitlibs and SJWs. She was basically part of that, but she's friends with Sabby Sabs. So funny watching Sabby try to like be like everything to everyone, like be friends with Jimmy Dore, but then be friends with these people who fucking hate Jimmy Dore and love like Ryan Graham. I unsubscribed from Sabby after watching this shit. After watching that video of her like be so sweet and totally agree with her friend who's trashing Brana for being a Jimmy Dore person and for being anti-mandate and racist, like she dismissed the whole trucker movement as white supremacist. This it's like a black woman, yeah, Renee Johnston. So she said, you know, she was pissed that the party was trying to align with the white supremacist trucker movement, and that somebody one time in some party discussion Slack or something argued that it's okay to say the N word if you're like singing a rap song or something, and then people argued about that for a long time. So like honestly, like I mean I don't know. I don't care that much about terminology, like I care about intent. So yeah, like if people I don't think it's great to be using the N-word all over the place if that's offensive to people, but people who think that's more important than like stopping this genocide against humanity is like whether somebody sang a rap song and didn't bleep the word. No, I have no tolerance for that type of priorities. So, and so yeah, she was saying, but like some of her other criticisms, like she started out with relatively, plausible criticisms. Like there are good criticisms of the People's Party. For one thing, as she said, they haven't run anybody, and they were founded in 2017, and they have not still not run a candidate in anything. And they say that maybe there's somebody in Georgia that might run for the school board or something, but that's a very that sounds like a valid criticism, especially they've been raising money, like probably a lot of money, and they've got all these big names on board, Cornell West, yada yada. um, and Also, um, Nick Brana's father is like the treasurer kind of, and he says like that doesn't matter because to have the treasurer and the like party leader or whatever be so closely related. He says it doesn't matter because their books are totally open and they have an independent company that audits it and it's all published online. So yeah, I mean obviously that helps, but the appearance of impropriety in terms of nepotism should be enough. I don't know, unless there's a really good reason that like nobody else can do that job. It's not ideal. Let's just fucking say that. It's not ideal. It's like it's like Trump and his kids and Biden and his kids. Like it's not good to have these dynasties, or even something that looks like a dynasty. And Brana didn't. He's not able to take real criticism. Like he was able to deal well with false criticism because he can face it with a clear conscience. But when he gets real criticism, he's just like, well, that doesn't matter. Don't you want to save the world? No, like, yeah. So he's not. Yeah, that was disappointing. It was like at first I was like so on board on it on with him through a lot of the interview that Sabby did with them. But I mean, even with Jimmy Dore, it was the same. Like Jimmy Dore asked him about that too, and he just like brushed off. He's like, "No, that doesn't matter. I mean, if people want to be mean, they can, be mean about that." But like as if he's never heard of nepotism or he doesn't know that real populists are like averse to nepotism. Fucking stupid and irresponsible. So he's still 1,000 times better than his fascist like detractors that are like pro mandate, but he's yeah, he's does seem quite flawed in this sense. And another big criticism he got that Sabby asked him about, can't remember if Jimmy asked him about it or not, but Sabby asked him about it, is like that he had spent $20,000 on a logo, or that they had spent $20,000 on a logo of like funds collected from regular people. And he's like, well, you can split hairs about what you did this and that, but when you're starting a party and blah blah blah, just bullshit. Like he just was not even willing to uh, consider the possibility that maybe that was a bad idea. And he even admitted, he's like, yeah, and then we later found out that and then we later didn't even, he's like, well, that's misleading. It wasn't for a logo, it was for a whole design setup or something. I'm like, okay, cool. Whole website design or build, I don't know what the fuck that means. But he's saying like, also, we didn't know at first that the person who recommended that company knew that company. And so, and he's like, and then we ended up not even going with that design, like, because we realized it wasn't for us. But he wouldn't accept any criticism of this. It's like, but these things happen, and isn't it more important that we, stop a nuclear war against Russia? Isn't that more, like if that's all you can do when you get some potentially valid criticism is just do whataboutism and just say, oh, but something else, and nothing matters because the bigger picture, that's a red flag. So yeah, like I'm much more against his, pro mandate detractors, but at the same time these interviews have shown very deep flaws in his character. I'm not saying, I don't know if it's salvageable. Hopefully, maybe, I'm sure he's getting a lot of criticism now from both good and bad criticism. Maybe he'll learn, maybe he'll mature, like we're all flawed. Um I mean, he says he wants to run somebody in 2024. I'll fucking do it. I'll run I'll run People's Party if he doesn't like hamstring me or anything, if he lets me do my thing. But so far it's like they don't have ballot access anywhere anyway, so I don't even know what they are. Like what's the point of them if they have no ballot access? The whole point of a party is to have ballot access. They have ballot access in Virginia and somewhere else. So that's something. But like the libertarians and greens have valid access in like almost the whole country, or at least at times they have had. So I don't know. I'm thinking of trying to, I mean, I don't know if I could win anything because maybe I'm too like controversial or weird or whatever, um yeah, I mean, I would think, I mean, there's, a good chance they would just kill anybody that won in a, or just rig anything or whatever. But I feel like you got to do like the ballot box and the Armalite, as they say, you got to do everything. And so, at least if you do politics, it shows who's on your side. It helps you spread information. Um, So yeah, I always try to run for president unless I see somebody that's like the ideal